And the Oscar for the Best Animated Feature, a category that they only just added by the way, goes to Shrek? What? Are you kidding me? Shrek won over the wildly influential, stimulatingly extravagant, groundbreaking movie Jimmy Neutron. Am I the only one who understands the complexities of this ambitious cinematic masterpiece? Oh god, I lost everything. There goes my college fund. 2001 was a very great year. For animated movies. The mainstream ones at least. I mean, it's quite impressive that we had 2 banger films released at a time when CGI animation was still quite primitive. And 2001 was the year that the Best Animated Feature category was created for the Oscars.
Gosh, up until now I thought Monsters Incorporated was a documentary on the Weinsteins.
And this may sound great on paper, but this suggests that the Academy doesn't think that these movies are worthy for Best Feature. So by putting them into a category like this suggests that the Oscars think that animation is a genre. Huh? It's not a genre. It is a method used to create a movie. That's like saying that movies shot on 35mm film are a specific genre, and that's just ridiculous. To be fair, if you can't beat them, join them. Guess how many animated movies have been nominated for Best Picture? 3. And no, I'm not kidding. Hey, at least Flow won Best Animated Feature this year. An independent Latvian silent film made in Blender. Wow, that's impressive. And it was a really good movie too. I don't think anyone was that annoyed by this choice this year at least. As a lot of you guys know though, there was a time when Disney and Pixar won the category pretty much every single year. And it made sense, especially during Pixar's golden era. But, I mean, come on, really? They chose Brave over everything else in this category? Did they even watch these movies? Oh wait, it's not a requirement to watch every film to vote in the category. No wonder Disney won all the time. And while it seemed to have gotten better in recent years, I guess we'll just have to see. The Academy are always making baffling choices, so who knows. But for all the complaining people have made about Disney always winning, my boy Shrek got to it first. Yes, the underdog studio DreamWorks won at their second ever CGI animated movie. You see what happens guys when you don't just try and copy your competition? And they won again in 2005 for Wallace and Gromit, but that's about it. But the main question for this video is, which film actually deserved to win? Was it actually Monsters Inc? Shrek was incredibly revolutionary for the time, but was the Pixar rival that year actually the better film? It's a debate that I've been pondering over for literal years, as both of these are some of my personal favourite animated films. And it's kind of surprising that it hasn't been debated that much on the internet. This video will compare every full set of both the films, and hopefully we can come to a satisfying conclusion. Monsters Inc.'s development begins all the way back in 1994, and this was during a lunch meeting with Pixar employees John Lasseter, Pete Docter, Andrew Stanton and Joe Raft. And not just this movie, but A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo and WALL-E were first conceived at this meeting. You know, it is kind of insane that all of these iconic animated movies were first talked about during one lunch session, and it kind of makes me sad what Pixar comes up with nowadays. The group of Pixar legends split off and it was Pete Docter who began work on the film and ended up directing it. They couldn't figure out the name for the film however, until longtime Disney animator Joe Grant, who literally worked on the original Snow White, suggested the title Monsters Inc., which is a play on the title of the 1960 black and white gangster film, Murder Inc. Bit dark that one, eh? To be fair, that was the direction that Monsters Inc. was heading by the end of the movie, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, aren't I? So originally this story was going to be about a 30-year-old man dealing with monsters that he drew in a book as a child, and then they come back to scare him as an adult. And each monster that came back represented a fear that he had to conquer. I mean, that concept does sound interesting, but they decided to settle on the buddy comedy film that we know and love today. And although I do like the idea, it does seem a bit out there for Pixar, and I think it might have lacked the signature charm and heart that the studio had. The first animation test was released in October of 1998, and to be honest, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but still, let's just say I'm very glad that they made some changes. To start off with, why the hell does Mike have no arms? Were they blown off? Or was this intentional? I mean, at least the rest of his design looks the part, and I kind of get what they were doing with having him also act as hands. but I think it is just too unconventional for one of the main characters to have. I mean, I think it's also just a bit impractical for Mike to not have them, you know? I mean, could you imagine him actually helping Sully out on the scare floor? Or, you know, surviving the door chase scene? It seems like they scrapped this idea due to technical difficulties, which, I don't know, what does that even mean? And as for Sully, sorry, I mean Johnson, no, just no. He honestly looks like he could be one of the background characters in this film. Could you imagine Johnson being on the main marketing material? Does this look iconic to you? Sully is also meant to be a confident scarer at the top of his game, with also a commanding presence, but also someone with a lot of intellect and heart behind it all. So what I mean by that is this guy ain't a main character, that's for sure. Why are his fingers so long and sort of human-like? It's sort of uncanny, and the animal stripes on him and the tentacle feet just don't gel well at all. I mean, it's all just sort of distracting and just weird. I'm really glad they changed their designs. Johnson was originally supposed to be an up-and-comer at Monsters Inc, which is the complete opposite of what we got with Sully, but I don't know still. Can you really see this guy becoming menacing? It does seem like they were originally trying to get really creative with the designs, and you can see that more on the background characters of the movie. But I'm really glad that they also made the changes that they did. They are way more visually appealing while also looking, you know, like monsters. The worst is yet to come though, so don't worry, we'll get to that. Pixar also had issues with the character of Sully, in the sense that they thought it would be hard for audiences to get behind a character who screams at children all day. So they decided to combat this issue by having Sully be one of the company's top performers. And I think that they managed this really well in the final product. As for Shrek, however, its production was not created on the most pure intentions. Oh no. I'm sure that most of you guys know this story, at least some of it, but it's important to bring up, and I think there is a bit more to the story than most people know. So without further ado, let's strap in, boys. So, there was this guy called Jeffrey Katzenberg, and he worked as the media executive for the Disneys in the 80s and 90s, and he focused on the production of adult-orientated comedies and dramas such as Three Men and a Baby, Good Morning Vietnam, and Dead Poets Society. The man had clearly an eye for talent, and he could specifically make successful, culturally significant adult movies with ease. After this, he ventured into Disney's animation unit, but faced controversies quickly as he personally edited out a few minutes of The Black Cauldron, which was already completed at the time. I mean, to be fair to Katzenberg, that movie is pretty hated. And, you know, maybe the guy was trying to fix it, considering that it was such a bomb at the box office that it almost killed Disney. However, under his management, the animation department began making some of Disney's biggest hits of all time, such as Who Framed Roger Rabbit, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and even The Lion King. Katzenberg also made the deal with Pixar to produce 3D computer-generated movies, and he was the person who greenlit Toy Story to be made. So in a weird way, if it wasn't for DreamWorks, Pixar wouldn't exist in the way it does now. Concerns started at Disney from Michael Eisner and Roy Disney, and this is because they thought that Katzenberg was taking too much credit for the success of the Disney films. But in 1993, Katzenberg discussed with Eisner the possibility of being promoted to president of the company, which, you know, they didn't want anyway, but that would also mean the current president at the time, Frank Wells, would be demoted. Now, according to Katzenberg, and, you know, this is from his account, Eisenberg said that Katzenberg would get the job if Frank Wells left the position. And lo and behold, luckily for Katzenberg, and unfortunately for pretty much everyone else, Frank Wells ends up dying in the next year in a helicopter crash. But Katzenberg never got the promotion, and this caused so much tension that he left the company at the end of 1994. In the same year, Katzenberg co-founded DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen, and Katzenberg ended up taking the responsibility for the animation division. Because, you know, they didn't just do animated films to start off with. But as a matter of fact, Spielberg wanted to make a Shrek movie all the way back in 1991. And he wanted to make it traditionally 2D animated, but this never came into fruition. Shrek is based on the 1990 children's book by William Steig, and producer John H. Williams got hold of the book from his kids and brought it into DreamWorks. Katzenberg was very interested and decided to start development on it in 1995. Shrek's co-director Andrew Adamson wanted the film to appeal primarily to adults, but Katzenberg said no, as he wanted the film to appeal to everyone. Katzenberg also hated some of Adamson's other ideas, such as adding sexual jokes and Guns N' Roses music to the soundtrack. I think that's a bit ironic, DreamWorks, isn't it? Especially in Shrek, there's tons of innuendos, and they use Guns N' Roses in Megamind, so, you know, I don't know what to tell you. As for the voice cast though, it initially went to comedian Chris Farley. Farley was a beloved cast member of Saturday Night Live, and then he later pursued a film career. It sadly did not work out well for him, as the films he starred in after Tommy Boy received a lot of critical backlash.
And our next movie is Black Sheep, one of those films that just makes your heart sink, actually. This is not only one of the worst comedies I've ever seen, but one of the least ambitious. It doesn't even feel like they're trying to make a good movie.
I have a confession to make. This is the first movie that I have ever walked out on in a theater in 26 years.
I envy you.
This stunk.
Yes.
Chris Farley is not funny.
No.
I knew John Belushi. I knew John Candy. He's no John Belushi or John Candy.
No.
He's a bad actor.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he doesn't have a chance with this script, which is totally...
I have never seen him be funny with any script.
Okay, well, maybe
He just runs around, screams, and rolls on the ground like a fat man.
This movie is very, very bad.
Farley did not take this advice, sadly, and things just got worse and worse for him. Farley reached probably the lowest point of his career with the 1997 comedy film Beverly Hills Ninja, which was so bad that he cried at the premiere of the movie. Behind his outward comedic persona of being a happy bumbling idiot on stage, Farley was actually an intelligent guy. He eventually realised that the movies he starred in were bad, and it deeply hurt him. He was emotionally distraught by the outward persona of being known as the funny fat guy in the show business, and he wanted to prove to people that he could be more than that, and I believe he could have been. This was also around the time that the notorious Shrek I Feel Good animation test was completed. And Jesus Christ, what the hell is this? Again, you can make these characters look scary, but what are you doing here? This is nightmare fuel. I'm guessing that this was supposed to be an introduction to Shrek's character, with the I Feel Good song being like All-Star. And I do get that, but this guy just looks demented. I mean, everything looks demented. What most people don't know is the reason why it was actually so bad, and it's because the film was originally set up to be a live-action animated hybrid with background miniature sets, and the main characters would be mo-capped into the scene. I mean, yeah, that's an ambitious idea for sure, but a little too ambitious for 1997 maybe? Hey, at least you could see the potential in the Monsters Inc test. Katzenberg hated this test so much that he threw away the tape the animation team gave him. After some more development though, it seemed like the film was going to be a bit more promising. One of Farley's scenes was leaked onto the internet a few years back, and you could see that he was really taking this role seriously.
You're just displacing your anger.
Believe me, it's properly placed.
You're really mad at whoever did this to you.
No one did anything to me.
Yes. Someone hurt you so bad. Someone hurt you many years ago.
Leave my parents out of this!
Breakthrough! Let's go with that. Let's explore family origin. Were you hugged as a child, Shrek?
All right. I want a home. And someone to share it with. People see me and they go, "Ah! Help! A big, stupid, stinky, smelly, ugly ogre! I'm so scared!" And they judge me before they even know me.
You know what? When we met, I didn't think he was just a big, stupid, ugly ogre.
I know.
He probably knew that it was actually a good script, and he also probably saw himself in the role of Shrek, at least a little bit. He was just someone that wanted to be accepted.
The writing in the movie is all wrong in terms of making him such a violent and angry person.
not necessary.
But you know, you're hard on Chris Farley too, and you were last week, and I never got to get back to that. I think it's the writers that these guys are at the mercy of. I think Chris Farley can be very funny with the right material. He has been on Saturday Night Live.
Well, we're not talking about that now, but which movie have you seen him in that was good?
Haven't seen a movie that I liked him in, but doesn't make him bad.
Me either.
Doesn't make him bad.
Sadly though, Farley could not get over his perceived perception of himself that people had of him, and he spiraled into depression. He became an alcoholic and also struggled majorly with substance abuse. But for the movie Shrek, he recorded almost all of the lines for the film. But on the 18th of December 1997, Chris Farley tragically died at the age of 33 from a drug overdose. Initially, Farley's brother was asked if he would come in and finish the remaining dialogue, but he wouldn't do it. In theory, they could have gotten someone else to finish the lines, but maybe they thought that it wouldn't have been right. So apart from those small snippets, Farley's version of Shrek has never seen the light of day. DreamWorks later recast the role to Mike Myers, who insisted on a complete script rewrite and to leave no traces of Farley's version of Shrek, but as you can now see in this leaked storyboard, this didn't exactly happen. And then Myers ended up completing the dialogue, but after seeing a rough cut of the movie, he asked to record all of his lines again but in a Scottish accent.
This is my swamp.
Our swamp.
Let go, donkey.
You let go.
Stubborn jackass.
Smelly ogre.
Fine.
Katzenberg liked the idea, and agreed to change it for the final movie. Katzenberg claimed that this cost DreamWorks $4 million, but this was disputed by Myers. This is a weird point, I guess, but it's also been stated that because of Myers voicing the character, and I guess not Farley, more ideas came into fruition. There was apparently clearer story points and fresher gags and comedy. Steven Spielberg himself sent a letter to Mike Myers thanking him for caring so much about the character, and also said that the Scottish accent actually improved the film. So I guess it's time now to discuss the actual quality of the films. I'll discuss each movie and sort of compare them at the end to find out which one I prefer more. By the way, if I talk about music, you probably won't be able to hear it, or at least that much of it, because of bloody copyright, but I may be able to include snippets here and there. I guess we'll start off with Monsters Inc, because why not? The intro for Monsters Inc is so creative and it's uplifted by the jazz music. The way it shows these abstract shapes that turn into doors, and move around the screen to show the title credits that interact with the monsters as well is just perfect, and it's just so iconic. And the music by Randy Newman is definitely one of my personal favourite film scores. It sticks out so well in my mind compared to most kids films, as the score itself has such a distinct personality. There's so many kids films where the score just blends in with the movie, and it just makes it feel uninspired and lazy. But here you can tell that Randy Newman went all out here to give the film a distinctive voice. It's very jazz influenced, very catchy, and I do really think it fits the visuals on the screen. After this, we have the movie's first scene, which is to show the way these monsters scare the kids. The film initially portrays this as a real life scenario of this kid getting visited in the night by a monster, and it's pretty effective, like showing the monster's tentacle instead of the clothes. And that and the cool camera work and use of shadows make it a very initially upsetting opening for a kids film. The mood instantly shifts when the kid screams his head off, which ironically scares the monster. Then there's some over-the-top slapstick of the monster being the one in pain and terror, and honestly it's a great subversion and contrast to the start of the scene. The kids stop screaming at this point, and I think that this could allude to the message of the film that scaring is not the better way to get energy out of these kids, but maybe I'm looking too much into that. But no, this whole exercise turns out to be a training simulation for the monster, and we get introduced to the rest of the class being taught. And the way it's presented here thankfully gets you right on board with the monsters after this moment.
Mr. Bile, is it?
My friends call me Phlegm.
Uh-huh. Mr. Bile, can you tell me what you did wrong?
I fell down.
We get introduced to Mr. Waternoose, who steps out behind the shadows, and he states how messing up the operation of scaring a child could result in one of the monster's deaths. In this world, children are perceived as toxic to monsters, but they need to scare them as their screams are a source of energy for this world. Right before the ending of this scene, Mr. Waternoose describes the perfect type of monster for the job.
I need scarers who are confident, tenacious, tough, intimidating.
But then we switch to... well, this. This is honestly such an effective way to open the movie. We get so much information thrown at us in such an organic way, and it just sets up the tone of what's to come. The switch to Sully being not what he was initially described as is good stuff too. I know everyone talks about Shrek for being subversive, but this movie also does it too in its own way, and it does it very well. Mike and Sully genuinely care about each other, and it's established in the first scene with Mike egging him on when Sully appears in the ad, and the care is reciprocated when Mike's appearance is not what they expected.
I can't believe it.
Oh, Mike.
I was on TV!
And side note, one of the best things is the recurring joke that Mike keeps getting shafted on the Monsters Inc promotional material. Just seeing his seemingly heartbroken face again and again is just timeless. Mike and Sully are such a good team and are so likeable because of this. They both care about their job to varying degrees, and they can both have a joke with each other. The introduction of Mike and Sully reinforced the themes that were set into the intro, such as children being toxic and Sully being someone who is very good at his craft. The commercial of Monsters Incorporated is not there just for lazy exposition. They are watching it because they want to see themselves in the ad. It's a nice little moment that helps explain the world a bit more, and this also allows us to spend more time with the main characters. The kid in the commercial watching shootings and being desensitized is a great social commentary on how children are not reacting to things the way they used to. It sort of reminds me of kids brainlessly scrolling on TikTok. The whole movie's plot is kind of based on trying to find a better way to get energy from these kids, and how corrupt CEOs are abusing this power. You know what, it kind of reminds me of real life issues right now, and the relatability of the world tells me that the filmmakers were actually trying to say something. This is what I say so many times during my film reviews. I'm not attacking you if you're a fan of these products. I just get so frustrated at so many of these kids movies that treat the audience like actual babies. Monsters Inc gets all of this right so well within the first 10 minutes. You have the funny slapstick humour in this movie, don't get me wrong, but it serves its purpose and it also has an underlying mature, interesting plot that commentates on world issues.
You've been jealous of my good looks since the 4th grade, pal.
This is confusing because this is not how Monsters University established the story, but I guess it at least solidifies how long their friendship has lasted. You know, they've got a nice strong bond together. It's a nice little additional touch that honestly doesn't need to be in there because the film shows their close relationship to us. Mike and Sully's walk to work is great at drip feeding us information, such as the fact that Sully wants to walk there instead of drive because there's a power shortage. It gives us more insight into the difference between Mike and Sully, as Sully is more of a person who wants to stand by his job and morals, but Mike is more of a guy who takes his job seriously but also wants to enjoy his life a little bit. I guess it's a good time as ever to discuss the performances of the two main characters, John Goodman as Sully and Billy Crystal as Mike. John Goodman is the perfect voice for Sully. It's honestly quite a reserved performance at times, and rather have Sully say things, he ends up just doing what he thinks is right, regardless of if it ends up hurting his best friend. Goodman's performance portrays Sully as very strong and scary in some ways, but on the inside also very gentle and quite an intellectual, emotional character. He's not the funniest character by any means, but I don't think that's what the filmmakers intended for him to be like. It's very well done and it's a needed contrast to Mike Wazowski. And with Mike, I think Billy Crystal is very mixed for me in this movie. He's very bombastic and loud for good chunks of this film. He says what's on his mind a lot, and this does result in a funny line here and there, and I do think it is a good contrast to Sully. I like his performance fine enough, but I just don't think he's that funny in this movie, at least at the start. I can see that Billy Crystal is really trying in this movie, but for me it's just not up to snuff compared to other funny side characters we've seen in films. I don't know man, it's just the way he's delivering the lines or something, but it's just not the best material I think. This is something that I do believe a film like Shrek does a lot better, but I'll explain that when we get to that movie. Like I said though, I think as we get more into this movie, his character gets a bit more likeable and funny, so it's not the end of the world. So I'll just see I guess if my memory serves me right or if Mike Wazowski is secretly the best character in all of fiction. As Mike and Sully walk to work instead of driving to it, we get more scenes to establish this world, seeing more unconventional weird monster designs and some funny gags, and it's all good stuff. And side note, the cafe that they walk past is based on the actual place where the Pixar employees had their meeting years ago to discuss their future hits. When the duo get to work, you can see that Sully is such a well-respected guy as when he enters, everyone greets him. They even get the Employee of the Month every single time, which still has Mike out of frame.
Hey, Mr. Sullivan! Guys, I told you, call me Sully. I don't think so.
It's safe to say that he has proper main character energy. He even has his own set of nerdy fans, which, they're fine, not that funny I guess, but I guess it's more to show how Mike can be more dismissive of other people and cares more about his personal interests.
Monsters Inc, please hold. Monsters Inc, I'll connect you.
We then get introduced to Mike's love interest Celia, played by Jennifer Tilly. And again, sadly I think her character also falls a bit flat. Mike and Celia have this overly smoochy exchange. And yeah, it's okay, but we don't really get to know much about her, even for the whole movie. She gets really angry at Mike for ruining the dinner that he had planned for her, which is justified. But but she just feels a bit like a plot device for the second act low points, like a reason for Mike to be more annoyed at Sully. I understand why they included her, to show that Mike touches grass a bit more than Sully does, but you know, at least develop her character a bit more. She's got a cool design at least, I'll give them that. Right after this scene, we have another character introduction, Randall, who is one of the 2 villains in this movie, which, spoilers I guess, but you know, you've had 25 years to watch these to be fair. And Randall is played by Steve Buscemi, a great character actor by the way. And I have to say, Pixar knock it out of the park with his character in a lot of ways. Making him this tall, slender, chameleon-like monster who is quick moving and can camouflage is very fitting to what his character is like in the movie. And I like the way it's animated.
Shh. Do you hear that? It's the winds of change.
Buscemi is also really well cast in this. His iconic gravelly voice helps portray Randall to be this slimy person who really doesn't have anyone's best interests at heart. And side note, Randall also has a sidekick called Fungus, who again, he's okay, but I think he's just a bit of a throwaway character to be honest. We then get shown more proof that Mike really doesn't care about his job too much, as we find out that he never does his paperwork.
Hello, Wazowski. Fun-filled evening planned for tonight?
Well, as a matter of fact...
And I'm sure you filed your paperwork correctly, for once.
The fan favourite character Roz tells him this, who's the company's administrator and is actually voiced by Pixar story artist Bob Peterson. And she's definitely one of the funniest parts of the movie. She's such a great foil to Mike, who sees through all of his bullshit and doesn't accept any of his remarks or excuses. It's honestly refreshing, and I'm glad that they included her to bring Mike down a peg or two. All of the scenes with her and Mike are really funny, and I think it's a fitting twist that the reason why she's so mean is because she's working as an undercover agent, which, you know, I'll get back to in a bit. After this, we get a really well done scene of the movie showing us how the scare operations work at Monsters Inc. Not only is it really well edited, but it's accompanied by the film's great score. And it makes it seem like this job's really fun, and kind of like an art form for them. It's like a performance. The actual scarers walk in the room, with my boy Sully in the middle. You can tell that he's the top dog at this place. I do like how the movie shows a lot of the other scarers' unique attributes, but I don't know, the animation on them doesn't feel that polished. It is an early CGI animated movie though, so you can kind of forgive them for that. And I do love the visual gag of having the monster who counts down from 7 having 7 fingers. It's so stupid, but it makes sense that he would count down from 7 because, you know, if you have 7 fingers, why wouldn't you? We then get more of a glimpse of the CEO of Monsters Inc. in this scene, Mr. Walton, who's played by James Coburn. He gets told that they actually may reach their quota today, which is the first time in a whole month for them. It's a nice little glimpse into his character motivations. This scene also shows us the concept of a dead door, as this monster gets too scared of a 6-year-old. Look mate, I don't think you should be on a scare floor if you get scared that easily. And if it gets labelled a dead door, the door is, well, destroyed. It also shows the difference between Mike and Sully versus Randall. Randall was trying to be the best scarer just because he's jealous of them, and he wants to reap the rewards of being at the top of your game. And he's just like trying way too hard to be good, when Mike and Sully are just very naturally good at their job.
Keep the doors coming, Charlie. I'm on a roll today.
George and I are like brothers. 2319! We have a 2319!
There's also the recurring 2319 moment, which is probably the funniest part of this movie. A sock gets stuck on the back of the scarer George Sanderson. And you know, as kids are perceived to be toxic in this universe, we have this over-the-top scene where the CDA come in to get rid of the threat and by this humiliate George in the process. I love how the monster he works with throws him under the bus right away after so many kind words. And it's so satisfying that the final joke ends with George getting the one-up on his co-worker. It's good stuff honestly. This results in the whole scare floor coming out of commission for a while, and in turn we get this scene where we get to know a bit more about Mr. Waternose's motivations for the movie.
This company has been in my family for 3 generations. I would do anything to keep it from going under.
Yeah, remember that guys. I also like how Sully agrees with the sentiments, and Waternoose makes this little noise.
Well, so would I, sir.
It is subtle, yes, but it sort of says to me that the filmmakers were trying to tell the audience something. Waternoose then personally asked Sully to give a demonstration to its new employees at the company, and we see that they have a sort of father and son dynamic. It's obvious that Sully trusts and respects this guy more than anyone else. I guess in a way this is one of Sully's character flaws in this film. In the next scene, Mike and Sully are discussing their evening. Mike tells Sully about the date with Celia, and Sully just says he's going to get back home to work out some more. On the one hand, Sully should try and touch grass and enjoy the finer things in life. But on the other hand, if he truly enjoys it, then more power to him, I guess. Side note, some of these background characters have not aged that well. Again, it's a common issue for these older films, but it's still worth noting. And because Mike always forgets to file his paperwork, it almost ruins his date night with Celia. But Sully, being the monster he is, speaks up and stays behind to do it for him.
I forgot about some paperwork I was supposed to file. Mike was reminding me. Thanks, buddy.
This causes what we call in storytelling terms as the inciting incident. And this is when Sully finds a mysterious door waiting on the scare floor.
Bucket.
This is our introduction to the little girl. This results in some decent slapstick moments, and Boo can literally teleport. What the hell is that about? And to be honest, the CGI on Boo is really not that great, to be honest. It's just got a very early Pixar feel to it. And to be fair, you can see that they've improved from the Toy Story movies at least, but it doesn't look great, does it? And this causes Sully to freak out and he tries to get rid of Boo. But as he's doing this, he notices that Randall is working after hours and is going towards the door. Randall sends the door away, so Sully has to bring Boo into the outside monster world. Sully barges in on Mike and Celia's date, which I think is more understandable considering the situation he's now in.
Look, lay in the egg bay.
What?
Look in the bag.
And again, Mike and Celia are just not that interesting as a couple in my opinion. So it's nice actually that someone cuts their boring ass date short. And Celia gets really annoyed, and that's the full extent of her character, to be honest. And yeah, it is understandable, don't get me wrong, but it's not engaging. Sully explains the situation, look lay in the ag bay, if you will, and Mike instantly thinks that Randall is trying to boost his numbers. Which, no, that's stupid. Surely the leaderboard is only active up to a certain time in the day. We then get a funny exchange by Mike and Sully, but unfortunately Boo escapes and shows herself to the whole restaurant. Celia gets separated from Mike and Sully, and they take Boo back to their apartment. And it is amusing to see these big monsters absolutely terrified of this little girl. And it's funny how the witnesses on the news literally lie about her having superpowers. Hang on a minute, well she may do.
Well, a kid flew right over me and blasted a car with its laser vision.
Mike gets absolutely stoned, and due to his selfish actions, Boo starts crying. And this causes their whole apartment to go crazy with electricity. Mike then gets absolutely pummeled by this speaker. And I will give it to this movie. It has some very effective and funny slapstick, especially at Mike's expense. It definitely helps his case on being a decent addition to this movie. This slapstick is also a good tie-in to the actual story of Monsters Inc. It isn't just there to be like, haha, Mike did a funny. Mike getting pummeled results in Boo laughing, and it lights up many different houses, and it causes the power to go completely out in their apartment. I mean seriously though, how did the feds not catch up to them at this point? Boo ends up getting so tired, and Sully takes her to bed. She gets scared of the closet in the room because she thinks that a monster's going to come out of it. She shows a picture of Randall to Sully, which is a creative way of showing Boo's feelings rather than straight up saying them. I mean, to be fair, it's not like she can say much anyway, but it's the first glimpse we get of Sully and Boo's friendship in the movie. I think it's actually a lot more enjoyable to watch than Mike and Sully for me. Not that the latter is bad, it still works, but I think the dynamic here is way more unique and interesting. We see more of Sully's soft side, and in this moment it all clicks for him. These children are harmless, and the monsters are the true evil in this world. That with Boo's theme motif playing makes a really excellent scene, and it reminded me of why I like this film so much. It's been a few years since I last saw this movie, and you know what, I was enjoying it up to this point, but I kind of forgot how good some of the stuff really is. Bravo, Pixar. Sully then explains this revelation to Mike, and Sully creates a plan just to bring her into the factory and put her back in her door. Mike disapproves, and we get another kind of weak joke.
Really? Well, in that case, let's keep it. I always wanted a pet that could kill me. What are we gonna do? March right out into public with that thing? Then I guess we just waltz right up to the factory, right?
I know I'm a Mike hater at points, but a lot of these jokes just don't land. And they really should, especially considering how many jokes this movie throws at us. It's something that can be compared to Shrek, and again, I'll get to later. When they get to work, yeah, I guess Mike was right. Of course the CDA would be around the whole factory. What the hell did they expect? It gets mentioned earlier in the film that this is the first ever child to get into their world. Like, the first ever one, so it makes sense. And hold on. Mr. Waternoose and literally no one else questions that this is a costume? Are they that dumb? What's going on? And side note, but I really do love James Coburn in this. It's kind of underrated in my opinion. The way he delivers these lines in such a soothing and caring way help paint the picture of what he wants his image to be to other people. It's something done to death in movies for sure. You know, the seemingly nice character who becomes a quote-unquote twist villain. But it's done a lot better here, and you can see that he still genuinely cares for Sully. The duo hide Boo in the men's room. That's a bit weird.
She told me she was 18! She can't stay here, this is the men's room.
That is the weirdest thing you have ever said. It's fine, it's okay, look, it loves it here!
Which, to be fair, Mike's delivery and face gets me every time on this joke. And Mike goes off to look for a card key. We get a cute little scene with Sully and Boo playing in the men's toilets. And yeah, that really doesn't sound great on paper, does it? But it shows to us more that Sully is on board with the fact that humans are actually harmless. Well, some of them, I guess. We then get another amusing scene with Mike and Roz. Because Sully never turned in his paperwork, Roz doesn't give him the door key. But he does mention that the reason he needs the key is because Randall was using the door late on the scare floor. And because she is working undercover, that's actually really helpful information to her. So again, we have a scene that is funny and is pushing the plot away in more ways than one. Why can't more animated kids films do this? Mike goes back to the men's toilets, and they almost get caught.
The child, the one you were after!
Will you be quiet? Don't you think I'm aware of the situation? I was up all night trying to find it.
He also mentions that the machine needs to get up and running. So yeah, what were they talking about a machine? And because Mike is so incompetent, Mike doesn't get a card key, and tries to send her into a random one. Obviously Sully refuses this, and mentions that he named the girl Boo, which concerns Mike, not because he thinks Sully's a nonce or anything, as Sully has been ignoring his advice since, well, pretty much the start of the movie. Boo eventually just gets bored and wanders off, so they have to go find her, but not before Mike has a run-in with Celia, and she is pissed. They talk about the sushi restaurant, which causes Randall to realise that Mike and Sully are involved with the child. And Mike also assaults Celia. No wonder why they call it Monsters Inc. But he runs away to get from Randall. Hey look, it's the Mike running meme. Randall catches up to him by camouflaging himself in a Waternoose painting, which is pretty cool, and tells Mike to bring the kid to the scare floor at lunchtime as Boo's doll will be there. And I never realised this until now, but I think that's pretty brilliant foreshadowing by the way, having Waternoose sort of looking in the walls. Maybe he's got something to do with this master plan. Meanwhile, Sully is chasing Boo, and due to a misunderstanding he thinks that she's got destroyed in the garbage compactor. And I know that some people think this scene is filler, but I honestly just love Sully's over the top reactions. The animators must have loved making this scene. The fact that he passes out so many times is just comedy gold, man. I mean, to be fair though, is this even over the top? He does think that a literal child is being obliterated right in front of his eyes. Well, think of the bright side, Sully. At least your problems are over. You just need a few years of therapy. But no. Boo was just hanging out with some kids at the factory, so Sully picks her up and leaves, but not before another meme.
Yeah, sure, step aside, kid, we're in a...
They get to Boo's door, but Sully doesn't want to take her inside as Randall was the one who set all this up. This causes friction between Mike and Sully, which I do buy because of the preconceived perception of humans, and Mike not spending as much time with Boo. Mike tries to prove that her room is safe, but gets kidnapped by Randall.
Oh, you stupid son of a...
But Randall thinks that he's just kidnapped Boo. How the hell did he not realise that he got Mike instead? He's literally right there, bro. Sully chases Randall without him knowing, and Boo finds this secret passage underneath the building. And honestly, that shit looks pretty terrifying.
It's okay.
They find Randall, Fungus and Mike, and they're about to test Mike on this new menacing machine called the Scream Extractor, and it's about to suck the life out of Mike, but not before Sully runs in and turns off the machine.
Psst, Fungus, you like cars?
Randall plugs the machine back in, and I sort of get that he realises that someone was down there to mess it up for him. Sully saves Mike, but not before putting fungus in the scream extractor to be sucked. That really sucks, eh? And to be honest, this scene kind of freaked me out as a kid. I mean, the life literally got sucked out of fungus. The guy looks near dead. To have a contraption like this in a kids film, one which is rated a U by the way, is sort of commendable. And this is why I always respect the older Pixar films, as they have mature themes in mainstream kids movies. And hey, this is what Disney used to do in their prime as well, so I think they've just lost it a bit. This machine is literally used to suck out all the energy from children, so the fact that the plan was to kidnap kids into this twisted world and do it to them is just horrifying. And for Randall to do this out of pure jealousy and desperation just to be the best scarer is just, wow mate, you gotta take a step back a bit. Jesus, what's wrong with you? So Mike and Sully try to leave as they realise that the stuff happening with Randall at Monsters Inc is just too big and too messed up. But at the last minute Sully has other plans, which annoys Mike as the whole film he feels like he's been completely ignored. To be fair mate, you did have that brilliant spoon idea earlier in the movie.
Spoons.
The scene cuts to Mr. Waternews critiquing a new recruit's scare methods, and I like that the little details of cutting from Mike saying no to Mr. Waternews saying it.
No, 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 no!
Simulation terminated. No.
And after that, Mr. Waternews talking about the importance of making a presence when you enter somewhere, and then we literally see Sully barge through the door. It's little things like this that really add up and make a film stand the test of time. And because Waternews is too focused on the future of his company, he asks Sully to scare for the scare presentation, and ignores all of Sully's pleas to listen to him. Sully rips a fat one, and of course Boo is there to witness this, and just gets terrified. All the other people in the room leave the millisecond Sully roars except for Mr. Waternews. And yeah, I think that maybe is a bit too convenient, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not gonna complain too much about this, as the scene after is really great. Boo's cover is blown, but Sully could not care less. As like a lot of this film, he's given up reason and logic a lot of the time for the care and love of Boo. He views the replays of his scaring, and realised how awful and damaging to children this can be. In this world, humans and children are specifically viewed as these horrible deadly monsters. But maybe, the real monsters were the creatures in this world. He says Boo very delicately, which is obviously a reference to her nickname. But it also may be Sully contemplating if the practice of the word itself should be appropriate in the factory anymore. Mike explains to Waternews Randall's intentions, and a disappointed Waternews seems hurt that Mike and Sully were a part of this situation. He says that he's going to put things right, for the good of the company. The duo think that Waternews is sorting out a door for Boo, but realise that something is very wrong when the metallic industrial looking door is staring back at them. Randall appears and opens the door, and Mr. Waternews banishes them into the human world. Mr. Waternews was in on it the whole time! Da da da! And like I said before, I enjoy the little moments of foreshadowing with this character. You know, he's a guy that's clearly under pressure to salvage a generational family business that's going under. He wants to keep this nice old grandpa persona, but realises that the writing is on the wall with the future of Monsters Inc. The issues lie, however, with how he handles it, and the fact that Mr. Waternews was the one who approved the idea of the scream extractor is really terrifying. And like others have said, it mirrors the reality of some of these rich CEOs in real life. Deep down they are rotten to the core, and this is why he's a great twist villain and honestly a really well done Pixar villain. Like a lot of great antagonists, on some level you can relate to their struggle and their reasonings, but it's often the execution of these ideas that really make you draw the line with them. It makes for such a conflicting and layered character to watch, and it's just so embarrassing, because Disney have made so many awful twist villains that make either no sense or just seem tacked on for no reason. The idea for Mr. Waternews is so simple on paper, but they just seem to screw it up again and again. But anyway, the duo literally gets banished to the Himalayas, and the fact that Mike announced that they're banished explains that this is something that can happen in this world, which is a very dark thought, and I wish this wasn't included in the movie to be honest, because what much does it add, apart from the fact that the abominable snowman is in the Himalayas, which to be fair you could explain why he's there for any other reason, like I don't know, he's the abominable snowman? The reason why I say this is because I like how much more of a dark concept it would be where instead of Mike and Sully being publicly banished, they would just go missing one day. And it's up to Waternews to despicably cover up all the tracks, and offer support and condolences to their families at the same time. It's just a thought that I've had now, to be honest, and it is nitpicking, but I think that it would have made his character that more evil. But anyway, Sully is so devastated about Boo that he doesn't listen to Mike, and this causes them to have a brawl in the snow. And honestly, it looks kind of shit. It makes me wish in a way that this film was animated just a few years later. But to be fair, for what we got for the most part, it is pretty decent. And you know what, the scene afterwards has some really well composed shots. But anyway, they run into the abominable snowman, who offers them shelter and yellow covered snow cones.
No, don't worry. It's lemon.
So we get a piss joke in this movie, which, to be honest, I don't really appreciate. And he's voiced by the Pixar legend John Ratzenberger, who used to act in every single Pixar film. So Sully is just ripped apart over the situation, yet Mike is just full of rage and bitterness. Which, to be fair, you can see both of their points of view. Sully isn't the best communicator, sure, but he still did try and explain to Mike how he was feeling. And Mike's life is ruined, yes, but Sully didn't mean for any of this to happen. He's not a bad guy, far from it. I guess it's just not the most hard-hitting scene overall though, particularly because of Mike's end. Not because his rationale isn't justified, but it's just, I don't know. Again, I don't really care about Celia. The abominable snowman mentions a village, which Sully then realises getting there will be the way they get back into the monster world. Mike then has a historical crash out, and mentions how they both had it made in the monster world. But Sully says that none of that matters now.
None of that matters now.
None of it matters? Wait a second. None of it matters?
And this part of the argument is where the conflict really improves and you can see Mike's point of view. For all of his faults, Mike is loyal, which is one of the best traits a friend can have. You know that this guy would never sell out or backstab Sully, and for Sully to say this in this moment makes complete sense for his character, as deep down you know he's the one in the right. But like I said before, the way that Sully communicates this to his best friend is initially quite wrong. I think if Sully acknowledged the specific reasons why Mike was so upset, he may have joined him to go down the mountain to find the village, but Sully doesn't want to fully commit to that, and makes the conversation mainly about Boo again. And what I do like about the scene is that Mike was actually expecting Sully to try harder to get him to come along, but he doesn't. And you can see that Mike is visibly upset that his friend left him, but I think this was a needed moment for the character, as you know, tensions have been high for them the whole film. And I think Mike just needed some self-reflection to fully understand why Sully cares for Boo so much. Sully yeets himself down the mountain, and finds the village with all the kids in. He can hear their screams from ages away. Which makes me wonder if the adults in the village are actually concerned about all these children screaming through the night. Like, surely that would just wake them up. Sully then makes his way back to the factory, and we get the final 2319 gag.
Hey, you can't just... 23
Mr. Waternoose is about to watch a demonstration of the scream extractor with Boo as its victim. A rather dark parallel to his work before this.
Sullivan was twice the scarer you will ever be.
It's good to know that this guy was very conflicted with what he was doing, but again, it doesn't really make it right, does it? But lo and behold, Sully comes in at the last second and roars. Seriously, mate? Did you not learn anything from the other scene? But kidding aside, I think this is meant to show that monsters roaring to scare kids still isn't as bad as the scream extractor. He takes Boo in a keycard.
Stop him! Finish him off!
Christ, never mind. Waternoose is straight up diabolical. He basically told Randall to kill Sully, which Randall happily complies with. This does show how OP Randall is as a character though. Bro's camouflage is that good that he can just become invisible and kill people. Kind of a dark thought really. I mean, Bro almost strangles Sully to death. It's really dark shit. Sully comes just in time to save the day, and we get a funny back and forth with Mike thinking that Sully is still sour about the situation.
I'm being attacked!
No, I'm not attacking you.
Waternoose then goes full evil mode, as he says that there can't be any witnesses. Jesus Christ, are you gonna kill the kid too? I mean, to be fair, maybe he was going to anyway. That scream extractor looks like it would have irreversible side effects on a kid. So they get back, and they find Celia, and she is pissed. And it is justified, to be fair. But she understands the situation now and why Mike was avoiding her. She actually helps him too by creating a distraction for the duo, and you know what, it's not that bad for a character honestly. So they get to Boo's door, but Sully realises that Randall will get to them before they can send her home. So they all jump on the door that takes them to the room where they're all stored. This results in a really fun scene where they traverse through this absolutely huge room with all the doors in it. It's shot really well, it's colourful, it's got some cool POV moments, it's all good stuff. And you could compare it to the roller coaster segments which is in a lot of animated kids films, especially the Blue Sky ones. But you can tell that Pixar put a lot of thought and effort into its presentation. And a lot of the time, that's all that really matters. Sully and Mike reach a dead end and get stuck next to a random door, but Sully remembers that laughter also powers the doors. So Mike makes her laugh, which in turn lights up every single door in the whole room. We then get probably the funniest line by Mike when they end up in a tropical paradise.
Why couldn't we get banished here?
It always makes me laugh, and yeah, it's a good point too. It's not like they're going to make it back anyway if they're stuck on a random island. Might as well give them a good one, eh? And going through all the different rooms isn't just for laughs. It's a cool way used for the duo to traverse through the room. Randall then gets to them and takes the door out of the rail and then kidnaps Boo. They almost die, but thanks to Boo's laughter, they manage to escape through the lit up door. Sully manages to get back to Boo in a random door, but Randall kicks him out as he's hanging on for dear life. We then hear the true intentions of Randall reaffirmed to us as the audience.
Look at everybody's favorite scarer now, you stupid, pathetic waste!
He did this all out of spite and jealousy. That with Steve Buscemi's honestly hateful performance at this point is just so raw. You really believe that Randall hates Sully with every bone in his body. It kinda makes him worse than Waternoose in a lot of ways. Like at least Waternoose wanted to save his company. Randall is just an asshole, and as Sully is about to die, Boo faces her fears and takes on Randall by herself in an amusing and liberating moment. Sully then plays Randall like a guitar and banishes him to some random trailer trash.
The gator! Give me that shovel! Come here! Get him on! Get that gator!
I always wondered if that mum killed him. Come on, get that gator. She probably served him with some roast potatoes, some fried tomatoes, and some barbecue sauce. And look, the Pizza Planet truck! So they find Boo's door, but the power from her laughter is now worn out. Mike does his epic meme moments, which is funny if you don't think about it, but seriously, where is his nuts? How does Mike Wazowski, you know, Waz Wazowski? But Mike's comedic moments don't work on Boo this time, and her door actually gets called back to the scare floor. Mr. Waternoose is there with the CDA with the intention of arresting Mike and Sully as criminals, but Mike does a distraction routine by hitting them with a good old 2319. They all chase after Mike, but Sully runs the other way with Boo, and only Waternoose notices this. We then find out how truly demented Waternoose can be with this final chase scene. Like, holy shit, this is scary, man.
Give her to me!
Imagine this big fella chasing you down these narrow hallways. It honestly feels like a horror game. And Sully literally has to barricade himself in the simulation room, and Waternoose is literally scratching at the door. It's a good use of genre mixing actually. This film is really good at balancing humour and genuine terrifying moments. Mr. Waternoose corners Sully and Boo in the room and states that they both have seen too much and that scaring isn't enough for the company anymore. His need to keep the company afloat has literally turned him into a deranged maniac. Again, do you see the parallels to real life corrupt CEOs? Waternoose then hits us with this iconic line.
I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die.
And then literally yeets Sully out the way. He goes to grab Boo, but as this is the simulation room, it turns out all to be fake. What a twist. And the whole of the CDA gang are watching.
Let's watch my favorite part again, shall we?
I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die. What? I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die.
Oops. And obviously they arrest Waternoose and take him away, but not before some weird audio cutting.
Where will everyone get their scream now? Scream now! Scream now!
When he says scream, and then now, it sounds like it's from two different takes. Or like, you know when they do weird cutting in a trailer? Or maybe it was the same take, but why would they just keep that one? It's very weird. Very weird. And yeah, Waternoose talks about how the whole company is destroyed because of Sully, which, no mate, it's your fault. But because Sully is such a genuine guy, you can still see him contemplating his words because, yeah, the city may still be absolutely screwed because of this whole ordeal. And also, he probably felt sad that Mr. Waternoose, you know, someone who he clearly looked up to for so long, was actually a completely different person on the inside. But because of this movie's good pacing for the most part, right after this the CDA announced that the number one of the company wants to speak to Mike and Sully. The number one of the company turns out to be Roz, working undercover for the company for almost 2 years. That's why she was so adamant on the paperwork. I'm joking, obviously I knew this. She probably even was a little suspicious of that little green freak. She also commends the two for inadvertently helping with the investigation. It is interesting to note that even when Boo reveals herself, the CDA agents still jump back a bit. It makes you think that Monsters Inc. probably lied years ago about the toxicity of children. To be fair though, it's probably a good thing to keep these worlds apart. Sully states that he just wants to send Boo home, and Roz calls in for a door shredder to be sent into the room, as Sully won't be able to visit her again. Sully is devastated by this news, but he can at least understand why. Then, here we are at the iconic goodbye scene. I feel like this part is where Sully fully embraces Boo. A long time coming, but I'm just glad that he finally liked her in the end. He then gestures Boo to go back to her room with just Sully. We then get another very delicate scene, which is made even more powerful with the slow piano music, where as the audience we know that this will be the last meeting of the characters. You wouldn't think this in a lesser animated film, but this was prime Pixar we're talking about. We knew that they would pull the punches. At this point anyone could consider that they'd never see each other again. Boo is just so incredibly excited to be back in her room and show her all her toys and Pixar Easter eggs. Sully just sort of stands at the door for a moment and tries to calm her down. He realises that he should just let go and enjoy this last moment with her. So he makes her laugh and then puts her into bed. She says goodbye to her, and although she is very young, it seems like she understands the situation. Maybe just a little bit.
Kitty.
Kitty has to go.
This with the swelling score is just devastating, man. Sully, someone who has prioritised work and other commitments, has finally smelt the roses and found some enjoyment in his life. Having fun with little kids. Okay, I know that sounds bad, but you know, he is good with kids, and you can tell that this guy genuinely loved and cared for Boo. And as this is the last time he can ever see her, Sully cries. And this is a great example of show don't tell by Pixar. How much more shit would it have been if Sully just looked at the camera and went, "Oh, I'm sad, I'm very sad that I can never see Boo again." But Pixar triples down on the sadness. When Sully leaves with tears in his eyes, Boo opens the door again and tries to scare Sully in a playful way, but it's just a wardrobe, and Sully is nowhere to be seen. Because sadly the door has become a dead door.
And I don't want to see any paperwork on this.
And I don't want to see any paperwork on this. Funny, do you get it? And after this, Mike finds a single piece of the shredded up door and gives it to Sully as a memento. And thankfully the nonce water news gets sent away by the CDA. But everyone then realises that the factory will be shut down and they'll be all out of jobs. But as Mike is making his standard quips, Sully realises that all they need to do is just switch up their tactics. The film then goes full circle, with the scene of Mike seemingly getting ready to scare a child, mirroring the very first scene in the movie. But why would Mike be at the forefront ready to scare? It's because he isn't. I guess all those quips and one-liners could have a purpose.
Hey, good evening, how are you? Nice to see you. I tell you, it's great to be here in your room.
Because Mike is actually doing a stand-up routine, which to be honest doesn't work on the kid. Ironic, I know. But hey, he does a slapstick that worked with Boo, and it's a great success. And it does seem like every other monster is doing slapstick, not stand-up, so I guess Mike is just too full of himself at points. And look how big those energy canisters are now. We then get a recurring joke with Mike being blocked by something on an advertisement. And look, a Scare Different ad and also Think Funny banners. Must have been a nod to Steve Jobs. I have to say though, I don't understand why James has been listed at the Giggle Guru. Do you really think that Mike would take joke advice? He's also the CEO of the company now. Well done bro, just don't become corrupt. I guess you can watch Monsters at Work to find out more. This wasn't sponsored by the way, although I wish it was. We then see a montage of the monsters performing to kids, and everyone seems to be a lot happier, and is that Fungus? Where the hell did he come from?
Oh, this is great!
What was he doing in that spot? Just to deliver the line? Looks like he just spawned in. Arrest him. Kill him. Kill Fungus. Kill him now. And George holding a watermelon is a reference to an old comedian called Gallagher. I know this because, no, I'm not old, I just checked the IMDb trivia. Hey though, the more you know. And look, even Mr. Biles' big mistakes now work. Fair play, dude. That's pretty freaking cool. We cut to Sully, who is now content with how far companies have benefited from his leadership, but he still carries an overwhelming amount of sadness with him because of Boo, and he carries the memories of her in his clipboard, including that small piece of her door. Mike then has a surprise for Sully, and brings him into the simulation room. It turns out that Mike has spent the past few months getting every single piece of Boo's door, and has managed to put it all together, albeit without the last one that Sully holds dear to him. And honestly, this is such a nice way to wrap up the movie, and it also shows the two most important aspects of the film in one scene: Sully's care for Boo, and Mike and Sully's undying loyalty for each other. It was tested a lot in this film for sure, but in the end, you can see that they love each other. As bros, of course, platonic love can exist, guys. You know what, I take half of it back about what I said before. Yes, Mike can be sometimes annoying, but I actually really like his character arc, and this is genuinely such a nice thing to do for a friend. You're okay in my book, Mr. Wazowski, even if you can be a bit annoying. And with the same slow piano cue as the last time we met with Boo, the movie ends with Sully putting the last piece in the door, and he finally gets to reunite with her. This is a side note, but the movie's credits end with the song If I Didn't Have You, performed by John Goodman and Billy Crystal, and it's great and reaffirms one of the main themes of the movie, which is friendship. I do have a bone to pick with this Blu-ray release though. They got rid of the outtakes from the DVD. What is this shit? It was genuinely the cherry on top of the whole package. It's really not the same without it. Like, it's that ingrained in my memory that it's not the same film. It's probably the funniest section of the whole movie too. So that was Monsters Inc. And I hate to sound like an old timer, but my god, they really don't make them like they used to, do they? Now, it's not a perfect film, and I think my ranking of it would be lower on my Pixar ranking. But the amount of depth and interesting themes and pure emotion in this picture is just splendid. It's just leaps and bounds ahead of Pixar's current output. Again, it really feels like a complete package, like they really cared about every single facet of this film. An idea that came from a place of true passion, and executed in a delicate and interesting way. Now, the animation hasn't aged the best at points. Mike can be annoying. I don't really care too much about Celia, and the second act isn't as tight as the other two. But man, what this movie gets right is amazing. It has a colourful cast of characters, great editing, really well thought out jokes and Easter eggs, a compelling and interesting story that commentates on our real world that doesn't feel forced or unneeded. It's all amazing. It's partly why Pixar became the gold standard for animated films, making accessible, enjoyable kids films, while also adding additional commentary and layers in order to be enjoyed by everyone. Is it really that hard to do, guys? I don't want to get too much into specifics because I want to compare it to Shrek, but man, this movie is really peak Pixar. I was nervous too because it'd been ages since I've seen it, and I was thinking Shrek may have this in the bag. But no, I can tell this is actually going to be a really close fight. So without further ado, we might as well jump into Shrek. Like Monsters Inc, Shrek also has an amazing intro to the movie, and definitely more of an iconic one in the pop culture zeitgeist, even if that only is for the memes. Now, that doesn't make it the better one necessarily, but I guess what I'm getting at here is both of these films start off incredibly well. The movie starts off with the OG DreamWorks logo, and the first thing you can hear is the DreamWorks theme song, but it wasn't the company's theme song in this movie. This piece called Fairy Tale was actually made for this film, and it was so good that it was used for their intro for future movies, and it's kind of the theme song for the whole company at this point. It's a piece of music that is instantly recognisable, and it's honestly outstanding. The score by Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell was just full of emotion and wonder. It feels like you're about to watch a classic Disney movie, and I think that was the intention. That with the swelling of the score and the violins make it such an iconic and memorable piece, and it really connects with us going up to the clouds in the intro. It's so good. It's one of the most iconic scores of all time. Everyone knows it, and I can't give it enough praise. You have to think as well that most people probably thought that this was going to be just a fun parody film. If I was Disney and I saw this, I would feel pretty scared just by the intro alone. I like how the movie can't stay too seriously though, as they Shrekify the DreamWorks logo for a split second. It's a good and probably a subtle way of telling the viewer that their expectations are going to be subverted a lot in this movie. I'm going to use that word a lot, by the way, guys. The first shot of the actual film rests on this light that almost feels like it's coming from God, and then it focuses on a book. Ah yes, the fairy tale opening. That's why the piece is called Fairy Tale. And this fairy tale opening was used in so many classic Disney movies. It was even used by Disney in their Shrek copycat film Chicken Little.
How about Once Upon a Time? How many times have you heard that to begin a story?
So Disney knew that this movie had quality. We then get a Scottish narrator who reads through the book, who describes this princess who is cursed by a fearful enchantment, and it can only be broken by true love's first kiss. The princess gets locked away in a castle guarded by a dragon, and many knights try to free her, to no avail. So the princess waits in the highest room in the tallest tower of the castle, to wait for her true love to arrive.
She waited in the dragon's keep, in the highest room of the tallest tower.
The music and the camera moving into the book gets you really invested into this tale. But mid-story, the music stops, and a large green hand rips out one of the pages.
Oh, Lord.
You hear that? That was the first adult joke too. Right off the bat you can tell that this is no ordinary fairy tale. The narrator flushes a toilet, and the movie cuts to a crude outhouse located in an earthy swamp. Then the movie cues "Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me," and the somebody we see is the protagonist for the movie.
Shrek.
An overweight ogre with a big nose, long ears and dirty clothes. Very much not the type of protagonist that we're used to seeing in films like this. He yawns, scratches his buttocks, and shakes off the book page that he used for toilet paper. The low angle of the camera with Shrek standing looking proud gives the aura that Shrek is a dominant character who is the king of his domain. The pop song All Star by Smash Mouth is playing, and it serves as a musical montage to show what a typical day for Shrek is like. Shrek's looking at his home in his swamp, which has the same golden hues as the opening book, telling the viewer that this is where Shrek sees beauty, in things imperfect and ugly, the exact opposite of those whimsical fairy tales. Shrek gets a pail of mud instead of water, and then he bathes in it. He brushes his teeth using bug juice, kills a fish by farting. Hey, that's a good instance of a fart joke to be fair, and all in all does really disgusting things that he gets a kick out of. Before we go any further, I do really want to comment on the use of the song All Star. It's important for a number of reasons. The iconic song by Smash Mouth was originally going to be a placeholder for the intro. The song was a hit in the late 90s and was included in the 1999 film Mystery Men, and that's what the actual music video is based on. But test audiences liked the song so much that they decided to keep it in the movie, and later included Smash Mouth's cover of I'm a Believer for the ending song. And could you really imagine any other song for this intro? They were originally going to include the credit song Stay Home, which fits lyrically to be fair, but it just doesn't hit the same. The lyrics in All Star fit the tone and themes of the movie so perfectly. Straight from the opening line of somebody, with Shrek flinging himself out of the outhouse. The years start coming and they don't start coming, referencing Shrek being in his routine. You'll never shine if you don't glow, commenting on Shrek's potential to grow as a person and, well, other things. And the chorus of hey now, you're an all-star, of Shrek perceiving himself as a king in his own swampy realm. For a placeholder song, it just fits too perfectly. It's crazy. And the other thing that is significant with this song choice is that it is a pop song. It's not a traditional old Disney film where the characters sing what they're feeling. It's just Shrek enjoying his life with lyrics that mirror him. This was a deliberate choice by DreamWorks to do this, I think, and it doesn't feel like they were trying to be hip by including popular music at the time. It feels like they were trying to genuinely do something different and subversive. I mean, it is true that adult media had mocked the fairy tale formula in the past, but nobody had ever seen something like this done before, in a computer-generated quote-unquote kids film for the masses. It really was revolutionary stuff, and it does help that All Star is genuinely also a really good song. All memes aside, and it doesn't sound dated or part of a bygone era at all. Anyway, back to the movie. Shrek makes keep out signs for his swamp, but who could this be for? Who would dare try to enter Shrek's swamp? After a nice little match cut and mirror to the opening shot, we see that a mob from the local village is planning to kill Shrek. They grab their torch and pitchforks and hey look, another match cut. Honestly, the editing in this intro is very good. It's simple techniques on paper, but they work really well. They are actually used throughout this whole sequence, and it's very effective in the way it shows the contrast between the two parties. The mob goes to Shrek's swamp, and to be fair, the 2001 human characters look pretty impressive. It's still very dated for sure, but it doesn't look absolutely primitive. And you know, I think some of the animation in this film can look a bit choppy at points, which is less of an issue in Monsters Inc. I feel. But you have to remember that Shrek did this on half of Monsters Inc.'s budget, which is kind of crazy. You can tell, however, that some of the background characters in this film have not aged the best though. I mean, look at him. So the mob start planning their attack, but start discussing to each other what ogres would do to humans if they got captured.
It'll grind your bones for its bread.
Well, actually, that would be a giant. Ogres? Oh, they're much worse. They'll make a suit from your freshly peeled skin, squeeze the jelly from your eyes.
It seems like Shrek gets some sort of enjoyment out of this, and probably because he's come to terms that people won't accept him for who he is. As he's doing this, the mob backs off slowly, looking more and more terrified, until one threatens Shrek with a torch to get back. Shrek mockingly licks his fingers and puts the torch out, and then roars at them. And it's disgusting, with all the mucus and saliva going onto the mob. They scream like little kids, and stand there in shock for a bit. So Shrek says,
"This is the part where you run away."
Which is, you know, Shrek reinforcing what everyone already thinks about him. And you know what? They do indeed run away. I guess it's a better time than any to talk about Mike Myers as Shrek. He nails this role, and if you really think about it, it may be his best ever performance. Like Ogres and Onions, Shrek is a deeply layered person. He's a funny guy, he's intelligent, but ignorant. He takes no bullshit from people, and he's got a delicate soft side to him under all that thick green skin. And Myers always knows the right times to over-exaggerate and bring the funny, but also when to rein it back a lot. It results in a dynamic performance when it could have been easily vapid and unlikable. I wouldn't be surprised if audiences were worried about this before the film was released, and little did they know that DreamWorks would eventually do this, and become a straight parody of themselves. And the Scottish accent was used to make Shrek more relatable, more working class, and you know, more like the man of the people. This results in a stark contrast between him and the people like Lord Farquaad, who speak all posh and formal.
Ugh, it's hideous!
Shrek then realises the reason why the mob went to his swamp. It's because fairy tale creatures are wanted in this world, with a cash reward for doing so. Shrek disregards this poster, shaking his head in its stupidity, which shows one of Shrek's flaws maybe, that he can be ignorant to the outside world and he can underestimate people, and this line of thinking causes the events of the rest of the movie. And yet with another match cut, this movie seems to like these. We see the meeting in the forest organised by these knights, with the intention of selling off fairy tale creatures that humans have caught. The 7 dwarfs are getting taken away, Pinocchio, so some of the fairy tale creatures that are featured in classic Disney movies. Just another way that Katzenberg was taking a jab at them. And look, there's even the 3 bears. All 3 of them. I really hope something doesn't happen to one of them. Bloody Goldilocks. Why would you sell them out? And the little bear crying in that cage is too small. A reference to the classic children's tale. And Geppetto sells off Pinocchio for 5 shillings. What's that in today's money, like 62 cents? Then we get introduced into this little donkey. Why is he there, you may ask?
Don't turn me in, I'll never be stubborn again. I can change, please give me another chance.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, apparently he can talk, but he's a smart little donkey. The donkey realises that if he speaks, he gets taken away too. So he doesn't do that, and makes a fool out of this lady. And in a pretty amusing moment, the guards just take her away, but not before she kicks Tinkerbell onto Donkey. And then he starts to fly. And hey, isn't that Peter Pan? In classic Donkey fashion, he mocks the guards as he flies up and up, until the magic wears off and he falls straight back onto the ground. Donkey ends up getting chased by the guards in a nice little chase scene, but not before he bumps into Shrek. Now, Shrek is about to lay siege on this little donkey, but not before he realises the greater threat and evil in this world. The Knights. So the Knights work for Facebook apparently, and they try and put Shrek and Donkey under arrest, ordered by Lord Farquaad. And he mentions a resettlement community. Resettlement community? That's one way to put it. Is Farquaad trying to recreate the events of World War II? But because of the horrid reputation of ogres, the Knights run away from Shrek, and he gains Donkey's respect for standing up for himself. And again, I guess it's a perfect time to talk about Eddie Murphy now. I'm guessing that with most comedians, it very much depends on your taste of humour. Like Billy Crystal, Eddie Murphy was also a popular stand-up comedian, and he was also, to be fair, a highly regarded movie star. But for my money, I think he's a stronger character overall than Mike Wazowski is. Mike has the heart and a bit of humour in his character. but the humour just does not land nearly the same way it does with Donkey in this movie. It's not just the lines, it's the execution of them. There's something about his vocal delivery in this movie.
I'm making waffles.
A lot of the things he says aren't hilarious on paper, but I think it's just the way he performs them, and just the way he bounces off Shrek as well. It's just perfect. Both Myers and Murphy just elevate these lines into something so memorable and memeable. And this whole movie has just been etched into my mind forever. And the great thing about their dynamic is the fact that Donkey is actually very similar to Shrek in a lot of ways. From his looks of being a donkey, and the fact that he's got no friends. But the reasons why they are outcast result in a lot of funny and also heartfelt moments. Donkey's more of an outcast because of, he's just so annoying, if you get what I mean. And it is very much helped with the animation and the over-the-top reactions and crash outs. Donkey starts to follow Shrek, and he gives him praise in the form of verbal diarrhea.
Get the hair out my nose, just like the time. And then I ate some rotten berries. Man, I had some strong gases eking out of my butt that day.
Although there's no one else in the woods with them, because of Shrek's history, he doesn't believe that Donkey would even be speaking to him. But he is. And because of his non-stop speaking, Shrek tries to get rid of him by saying to celebrate his freedom with his own friends. But Donkey doesn't have any friends. And because fairy tale creatures are now under threat, he decides to stay with Shrek, as he's perceived as scary. Shrek clearly hates this idea, and just roars at Donkey. But he gets the wrong idea. He doesn't find him scary. In fact, he's enamoured at Shrek's ability to be scary.
You definitely need some Tic Tacs or something, because your breath stinks!
Shrek keeps trying to get rid of Donkey, but because Donkey is a literal force to be reckoned with, he won't leave him alone. Shrek eventually asks,
"Why are you following me?"
And Donkey takes this as a chance to explain his feelings through song. Like a Disney movie. But as we know, this movie has already said no to the classic Disney formula, and Shrek shuts down the song before it can really start.
But you gotta have friends.
Stop singing!
And Shrek does this to Donkey throughout the rest of the movie. It's kind of ironic how the most annoying character in the whole film, and maybe even the franchise, is always shut down when he tries to break into song. And I know, they hammer in this message of being sick of the Disney formula a lot, but that is genuinely how people felt at the time. So this movie was such a breath of fresh air for them. And because Donkey just won't quit, Shrek mentions that it's no wonder he has no friends. But again, Donkey admires Shrek and tells him the truth. Shrek says to Donkey that he is an ogre, with the implication that Donkey shouldn't be hanging out with him due to what society says. Donkey says that this doesn't matter, and this is the first time we see Shrek drop his guard in front of another person.
Really?
Really? Oh, man, I like you.
He's not trying to be sarcastic or closed off for once. Shrek is just genuinely shocked and refreshed because someone finally isn't just trying to run away from him. I guess it's just a shame for him in this moment, because that one person is the most annoying thing on earth to him. Now I want to discuss a theory that people have talked about before, when Donkey asks for Shrek's name.
Shrek?
Was Shrek lying in this moment? Look how he stumbles his words. Maybe his name wasn't even Shrek. Maybe he doesn't even have a name. I'm just kidding, guys. And yes, some people actually think that. Shrek was only saying that because he was shocked that Donkey actually liked him. And in this moment, Donkey says he admires that Shrek doesn't care for what other people think of him. And as far as the audience knows, this is true. I also like the scene too where Shrek and Donkey walk up the hill to reveal his swamp. It adds to the world building of the film, and that with the original score and the sound design helps show that the movie isn't just pop culture jokes, it's also got a grandeur side to it, which is reminiscent of some of the best parts of the classic Disney films. I know it's a small moment, but I really think it adds to the atmosphere of the movie. And although the score is great here, I don't think it's on the same level overall to Monsters Inc.'s jazz-influenced score. The opening piece is goated though, and they both serve their purpose really well. I think it's just down to preference, I think. For my money, the Shrek score just isn't as memorable, but the thing is, Shrek does have its use of pop songs, so it gets extra points for that. The score isn't going to be as focused as it is on Monsters Inc., so you could say that it kind of evens things out a bit. Anyway, Donkey mocks the swamp before realising that it is Shrek's swamp, so he starts to glaze Shrek to the point where it's just ridiculous.
I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
Nice boulder? Really, bro? Is that what you came up with? and then Donkey asks Shrek if he can stay at the swamp with him, which again results in some really funny dialogue and expressions, which I think is elevated by Myers and Murphy's performances.
Can I stay with you, please?
Of course!
Really?
No.
Shrek says that Donkey can stay for one night only, which upsets Donkey, but he agrees, as he just cannot take the hint. Later on, Shrek is enjoying his meal in peace. Again, it's a nice little scene that is elevated by the score to show that there is more to Shrek than meets the eye, and I think it's a good use of show don't tell, which is the polar opposite of Disney songs. It's not Shrek telling us over and over that he's a nice guy. It's up to the audience to decide on that, which is influenced by the way that the film presents the scene. The slow violin piece with the warm colours gives his swamp and the disgusting things he enjoys a cosy, inviting feeling. And it's so cute that Shrek is so proud of the dinner he made. You know what, Shrek seems like a nice chill guy. It's kinda sad that everyone is so ogre-phobic. And yes, I really just did say that. Maybe this film is a social commentary on how different looking / acting people are often treated as outcasts. Just a thought there, guys. Unfortunately, Shrek's comfort is quickly dismissed when he realises that there are people inside his house. The 3 blind mice appear and start to annoy him, but he catches them and asks them what they are doing there. Before they can answer though, the 7 dwarfs bring a dead body onto his table, which completely ruins his evening dinner. The dwarfs argue that they would have put her on the bed, but it's already occupied by the big bad wolf.
Huh?
So basically, a shit ton of fairy tale creatures have invaded not only his house, but also his land. Yes, all of the fairy tale creatures that were captured are now living on Shrek's swamp. They've set up tents, there's an old lady who lives in a shoe, and there's even a bloody runway for witches to land in. It's pretty manic. And look, there's even people queuing up to use his toilet. Why is Baby Bear so sad? Where's Mama Bear? This is where we arguably get the most iconic line in the whole of the Shrek franchise. And maybe the whole of DreamWorks.
What are you doing in my swamp?
What are you doing in my swamp? So iconic, so memeable, and so undeniably Shrek. Fairy tale creatures tell Shrek that Lord Farquaad forced him to go to Shrek's swamp.
He huffed and he puffed and he signed an eviction notice.
Why did Lord Farquaad send them to specifically Shrek's swamp? Couldn't they go to somewhere else in the woods? Surely they could have been another place where he could have sent them. But I guess a disgusting dirty swamp is a good location. And maybe the people in the mob alerted him of this wretched place. It's plausible, albeit slightly contrived maybe. Shrek asks if anyone knows where to find Farquaad, but nobody wants to help Shrek, except from Donkey. So Shrek announces that he will meet Farquaad with Donkey, get them all off his land, and send them back to where they came from. Why do you think they all applaud him? Obviously they want this, don't get me wrong. And I mean how, some seem a bit scared of him, but others don't seem to care at all. And I think it is because Shrek is a man of the people. They see him as one of them, which he is in a way. It makes me wonder why he didn't hang out with fairy tale creatures more often. Maybe he didn't realise. But to be fair, the difference is that he is willing to stand up for himself, and only himself, but the fairy tale creatures just benefit from that. Not the absolute purest intentions from Shrek, but to be fair to the guy, they are literally invading his home, so it's more than fine by me. Also guys, do you think that having this scene set in the dark was also probably made by DreamWorks to hide some of the shoddy animation? It's just a thought, but these background characters don't look half bad, and that's probably because you can barely see them. It's a good use at hiding the effects. And I love that this movie has a lot of good background gags like Monsters Inc has. Like when Donkey's singing, Shrek manhandles this elf to steal his torch. It's little things like this which really make me respect these older animated films more. They went above and beyond in so many ways. And you can still see that in some modern animated films, but it's few and far between sadly. But anyway, everyone's been talking about this Lord Farquaad, but who the hell is he? The movie thinks that it's a good time to properly introduce him, and I agree. With the low angle point of view and the Halloween sounding music, just gives the aura that this guy is a demonic force to be reckoned with. But no, as everyone knows, the joke is that Lord Farquaad is short, something he has no control over, and he gets made fun of throughout the whole movie because of this. There's even a cock joke about it.
Lord Farquaad's castle.
Do you think maybe he's compensating for something?
Movie, this may be your biggest ogre sight. Sorry about that. I thought the whole message of the film is to love yourself no matter what you look like. As you know, on the whole you can't change your core appearance. It's just genetics, which is the same scenario with, I don't know, height? but the film throws joke after joke after joke about how short this guy is. And I think this was Katzenberg's fault. He was so annoyed at Michael Eisner that Farquaad is based off him, even down to the name. Farquaad sounds a bit like F-Wad, if you catch my drift. And I guess due to his blinded hatred, he had to put him down somehow, so they made him really short. I do think that this is a really stupid and frankly embarrassing thing on the film, and on one hand it does result in the amusing moment here and there, but on the other hand, Katzenberg, are you that much of a baby that you have to sabotage your own movie? What the hell are you thinking, man? Oh well, it doesn't detract from the message too much, and I don't think that most people think about this when watching it. And at least Farquaad is a bad person at the end of the day. Lord Farquaad is voiced by the great John Lithgow. He's also very funny in this role.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Just really hateable in the best ways, and it's made better with his sort of British pompous accent. It makes him seem very out of touch with the world and very desperate. Sort of like a kid who's been spoilt rotten all his life. Hey, maybe that's the reason why Lord Farquaad is so short, to warn the children that watching this film is bad behaviour. But I don't know, make him a kid then at that point, I guess. Oh well, just know that Farquaad is a really solid DreamWorks villain, and definitely one of their best. It's another thing that elevates this movie for sure. So Farquaad explains to Gingy that he wants to get rid of the fairy tale creatures because it ruins his perfect world. Not to drill on it again, but kind of like a Disney World, or like Epcot or something. And he demands to know where the rest of them are residing. You get the iconic Muffin Man moment.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
But this is interrupted, as one of the knights has found the magic mirror. Farquaad is excited by this news and asks the mirror if his kingdom is the most perfect of them all. The mirror points out that Farquaad is technically not a king as he's single, but then the mirror realises that he may get killed for speaking down to Farquaad, so he turns it into a mock dating show. I guess it's an outdated reference in a way, although dating shows still exist in the form of eye cancer. Yeah, I don't know, I just don't think this scene has aged that well in general. It's pretty weak comedically, at least in my opinion. It serves the purpose of the movie, as Lord Farquaad ends up picking Princess Fiona, and gets the information that she's locked away in a dragon-guarded castle, but I don't know, read it in a book, mate. That's what Shrek did. The mirror also mentions that she likes pina coladas, and then getting caught in the rain. And then the movie plays Escape by Rupert Holmes.
If you like pina coladas.
And yeah, I get it, it's used to parody the dating game shows. It just doesn't do much for me personally. The magic mirror then tries to tell Farquaad about Fiona's side effects, but his arrogance gets the best of him. Farquaad then asks for his best knights in order to have a tournament. This is because this slimeball isn't even going to try and rescue Fiona himself. What a baby. Meanwhile, Donkey brings Shrek to Duloc, which is a castle with a parking lot in front of it. How strange. And look, there's a queue to get into it, and a wait time sign. This is like an amusement park. Look, there's even a guy dressed up. I wonder what this movie's trying to tell us. Shrek tries to get the information from this guy in a rare moment of him acting nicely to someone else, but it doesn't work and the guy screams and runs away. This annoys Shrek as he probably told himself before that he'd given up on being nice to people, so he just decides to use 3% of his power to destroy this queue line. And what on earth are these posters? Is that the main guy from Ants? How come I've never noticed that before? And is that... Actually, I've got no idea who that could be. It feels a bit unsettling how this human photo is in a movie like this. Weird. So they get through the turnstiles, Donkey does a haha funny, but it turns out that nobody's in there. It's a little village where everything looks the same. Perfect but bland. There is more Farquaad decorations and merchandise. So to summarise, Duloc is his utopia. Donkey finds this information booth, and we actually get an exposition via song? Huh? This isn't a Disney movie.
Welcome to Duloc, such a perfect town. Here we have some rules, let us lay them down.
But this scene is not only hilarious, with all the innuendos and all, but if you didn't get it yet, the whole of Duloc is a piss take on Disneyland. You know, for all the reasons mentioned before. Shrek and Donkey are horrified by it, which again is all great stuff, and they eventually find where everyone in Duloc is. Farquaad has set up a tournament for all the bravest knights, and whoever wins this brawl gets the privilege of saving Fiona. So like, what did they actually win though? What's in it for them? I guess nothing. Farquaad finishes his shit speech, and there is a worker on the side telling people when to laugh and applaud. I guess this is to show the ignorance of most people in society? as in most people act like bots, or at least maybe hardcore Disney fans. Farquaad calls him hideous and changes the tournament to revolve around killing Shrek, and the audience starts chanting to kill him. The knights start closing in on Shrek, and reject his proposition of settling it over a pint. So, Shrek decides to do this.
Come on!
Cue Bad Reputation by Joan Jett, and a marvellous fight scene where Shrek and Donkey absolutely obliterate their competition. And in their fighting of the system, they somewhat bond with each other, and the crowd ends up rooting for Shrek instead of the knights. And it's so funny when the old lady tells Shrek to use the chair. The fight turns into almost like WWE at this point, with Shrek using loads of different moves. Bad Reputation is also a great choice for this scene. It's energetic, and again, a lot of the lyrics fit what Shrek stands for. It's deliberate and obvious without feeling forced, which is why the use of pop songs works so well in this movie. But yeah, the crowd loving Shrek for violence is a bit twisted maybe, but it is a brief moment where Shrek is actually accepted into society, and he loves it. It is a shame that Shrek has to play into these stereotypes when his life gets threatened. Farquaad ponders on what he should do to Shrek, and decides that due to his ability and reception to the crowd, he claims him champion of the whole tournament. Shrek rejects the prize of winning and says that he's there to get his bloody swamp back. Farquaad gives him an ultimatum. If he does this quest, Farquaad will restore the swamp back to its original form. Shrek asks what this quest is, and then it abruptly cuts to Shrek and Donkey going on this said quest, where Donkey is recapping what Farquaad said off screen. Some could call this exposition or speaking down by reminding it to the kids in the audience, but it fits Donkey's personality of being a bit slow and, well, annoying. Donkey asks Shrek why he just doesn't break into Duloc and kill Farquaad, stating that it's because it's a stereotypical thing that ogres would do. Shrek then mocks the absurdity of this idea, as deep down he's not the type of person to do that sort of thing. Well, you know, if he can help it at least. Shrek then drops us one of the most iconic lines ever.
Ogres are like onions.
They stink?
He tries to tell Donkey that ogres are way more layered than people think, by comparing himself to a literal onion in the field. Donkey doesn't get this, and tries to say that comparing ogres to cakes would be better, as people like cake and that cakes don't stink.
Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it.
Shrek rejects this, as obviously this removes the whole point of the comparison. Come on, Donkey. Cue I'm on my way by the Proclaimers, and we get a nice little montage of Shrek and Donkey making it to the castle. And because it's mainly just still environments, the animation looks really nice and still holds up. So anyway, they make it to the castle, and again the design is really cool, and it shows that this animation does hold up in some ways. But anyway, Donkey tries to do his own comparison by saying that donkeys have sleeves instead of onions, meaning that he is shit scared of going over the lava. Shrek tells him that he'll be fine, and whatever he does, don't look down.
Shrek, I'm looking down!
Donkey says that he wants to go back, but this results in Shrek rage baiting Donkey on the bridge by swinging it side to side.
This?
Yes, that!
Yes, do it. Okay.
And they eventually get across. That'll do, Donkey. That'll do. Maybe a messed up way to do it, but at least this means he now tolerates Donkey, because I think he would have happily left him earlier in the movie. But because Donkey is shit scared and won't shut up, Shrek tells him to find some stairs, and explains he knows where to find the princess because of the book he read in the outhouse. There's a nice little motif of the fairy tale theme song in the background.
The princess will be up the stairs in the highest room in the tallest tower.
And it's a nice little touch. Donkey gets obsessed with finding these stairs, but ironically Shrek finds the princess, and Donkey, well... And another showcase of Shrek coming around to Donkey is that he risks his life to save him, and then he gets flung by the dragon straight into Princess Fiona's quarters. The dragon turns out to be a girl, which I guess is meant to reaffirm the message of the movie to not judge a book by its cover, but I don't know, it was going to be one of the genders, wasn't it? She falls in love with the donkey, and she involuntarily takes him away. Cue the fairy tale motif again, and Fiona is eagerly waiting for a prince to kiss her, but Shrek just shakes her awake and manhandles her out of her quarters.
Are you Princess Fiona?
I am. Awaiting a knight so bold as to rescue me.
Oh, that's nice. Now let's go!
Fiona is played by Cameron Diaz, and again it's another win for this movie. Her chemistry with Shrek is really the heart of the movie, I think, and it wouldn't work if she didn't, but she does work. Add Donkey into the mix too? It's game over, man. It really helps that all of these characters are so likeable. She's pompous and stuck up at the beginning for sure, but this has to be done again to subvert the Disney stereotypes and also shock you on what she really is like, in more ways than one. And the cherry on top is the animation. Animators struggle to animate humans up to this point, and I do think DreamWorks set the bar really high in the movie with her. It's clear that most of the budget for the humans went to her and Farquaad, and the results are impressive for 2001. I think they still hold up. But yeah, Fiona is speaking very poshly and is trying to stay with the old traditions. She expects Shrek to kiss her in her room, in order to remove the spell and also to show what Disney princesses can act like. But Shrek is having none of it. It's kind of stupid though. Like, surely she can see that he's an ogre through the helmet. Is she dumb? Is she blind? What's wrong with her, seriously? She mentions to Shrek how he was meant to slay the dragon first, but Shrek makes a good point.
Yeah, right before they burst into flame!
They all bloody died. Shrek's doing it his way. The DreamWorks way. Did I mention that this film subverts Disney? Shrek says he has to save his ass, so he finds the dragon, and it turns out that Donkey is being Shrekshally abused. Oh my god, did I really write that? I'm sorry guys, I'm really sorry.
Hey, that is unwanted physical contact. Hey, don't do that. That's my tail. That's my personal tail.
Are you sure that's his tail? DreamWorks, you are disgusting. Shrek manages to grab Donkey and Fiona. He then gets hit in the nuts, and then he runs around the castle to get the dragon tangled in its chain. What a Chad. Cue the slow-mo, cue the intense music, cue the epic jump from the fire. It's again a really well done, exciting scene. After leaving the castle, Fiona asks Shrek to remove the helmet for a kiss, but Shrek has helmet hair so he can't do it.
I have helmet hair.
She recites the fairy tale book, mentioning that it ends with true love's first kiss. Shrek and Donkey burst out laughing, which rage baits Fiona, and she breaks her fair exterior and demands he remove his helmet.
Oh, you were expecting Prince Charming?
Well, yes, actually.
Trust me, Fiona, it was a good thing that Shrek found you first and not Charming. Fiona's quite distraught that an ogre came to rescue her, but it's good conflict. For now at least, as it presents her as another person who's against them, which I guess she is, and it might be because she hates herself for her secret curse. But anyway, I doubt that she is against Shrek himself at least.
Why didn't he come rescue me?
Good question.
Good question. He said the meme. Good question. Fiona then refuses to leave, but Shrek tells her that he isn't a messenger boy. He's a delivery boy. Oh shit. So Shrek takes Fiona by force, which ends up being a good idea by Shrek as Donkey starts harassing her instead of him. They then do more short jokes about Farquaad, which rage baits Fiona.
There are those who think little of him.
But it gets near to sunset, so Fiona starts begging to stay somewhere else for the night, rather than walk all that way in just one go. Shrek initially refuses, until she literally screams at him.
I need to find somewhere to camp now!
I just love their reaction. Even Shrek is scared here. Shrek finds a little cave for Fiona, and she barricades herself into it just before sunset. Later on in the night, Shrek and Donkey are sitting by the fire, and Shrek is telling Donkey about the star formations that tell stories about ogres. And in a rare moment, Donkey is not enamored by Shrek, and he just dismisses them by saying that they're just a bunch of dots. Donkey asks what they are going to do when they get their swamp back, which Shrek rightly so pushes back.
We? Donkey, there's no we.
There's no we.
The first thing I'm gonna do is build a 10-foot wall around my land.
Donkey thinks that the building a wall talk is a metaphor for Shrek, and that he has other issues deep within. In classic Shrek fashion, he acts sarcastic towards Donkey for cracking the case, but then he doubles down in trying to keep his feelings to himself. Donkey pushes and pushes and pushes Shrek, until Shrek announces that it's not him that has a problem with society, but it's the fact that society has a problem with him. Shrek sits at the edge of the cliff, and Donkey comes over to say that he never judged Shrek, in which Shrek acknowledges. And while this is happening, Fiona is listening to the whole conversation in the distance. They just sit there, and it's a nice little moment that breaks up the pace from otherwise a relatively snappy movie. There's also some really nice shots in here. It's really good stuff.
Look, I'm not the one with the problem, okay? It's the world that seems to have a problem with me.
Mike Myers really shows off his talent here too, showing off that this character is more layered than people may have initially thought. The deliberate orchestral score at the end is subtle but effective. And again, in all honesty, it may be the best scene in the film, and definitely the turning point for audiences, as again, Shrek could have ended up being so shallow and meaningless, but it not only works so well as a comedy, but also a drama. The next scene is in Lord Farquaad's quarters, and hey, look, a bear rug. Oh wait, oh my god. DreamWorks, you didn't just do that, did you? Jesus Christ, that's so dark. But yeah, Farquaad is just gooning to Princess Fiona. Like, literally gooning. Did this shit really need to be in here? Other than that, this film really excels in its editing. The music from the last scene flows into the next, and it's the same with the preceding one. The match cuts which this film loves is in full effect here, and it makes the editing feel really fluid and deliberate. Refreshed after a slumber, Fiona walks out with a rejuvenated skip in her step, after realising that Shrek has another side to him. She sings the fairy tale theme to a bird in the forest, and it feels very majestical and like a Disney movie. Unfortunately, they get into a loudness contest, which ends up with the bird exploding.
What?
I love the chicken sound effect and the fact that the bloody feet is still on the branch with steam coming off. It also makes it 10 times worse and 10 times funnier that this was actually a mother. And Fiona just instantly takes the eggs and cooks them for breakfast. What the hell, Fiona? This could be the most messed up thing a character has done in the whole film. Fiona brings the eggs to the boys, and they are so shocked at her change of heart that another top tier meme was created. Fiona burps in front of them, which shocks them, and Donkey states how she's just as bad as Shrek. And Fiona mentions that
maybe you shouldn't judge people before you get to know them.
They judge me before they even know me.
Which is a dead giveaway that she was spying on the bros convo. You should just eat her now, Shrek. She's a nasty piece of work, that Fiona. But straight after this, we get the run-in with Robin Hood and the Merry Men. He tries to woo Fiona and mentions that Shrek is a beast, which disgusts her.
I steal from the rich and give to the needy.
Takes away percentage.
But I'm not greedy.
He breaks into song, which is rare for this movie, which makes Shrek and Fiona even more sick of him. Robin Hood mentions in this song how he loves objectifying women, and like, come on mate, get with the times. Do you really think that this would work on Princess Fiona? But Fiona gets sick to the point where she literally starts using martial arts to beat Robin and all of his merry men up, which is extremely satisfying and honestly a great subversion for Fiona. The focus on this film was on Shrek up to this point, but including Fiona's complete 180 of character too is just brilliant, and it works so well because of how audiences were used to the conventional Disney princess. It's not cringe in the sense of, whoa, girl can fight too? It's more because of the tired Disney tropes that we've come to expect time and time again. There's even a Matrix parody in here, which is probably one of the most dated jokes, however, I think he gets a pass. A lot of the media was doing it at the time, and I still think it's pretty funny. I also love the final guy who gets spin kicked. It's absolutely brutal, and they knew it was so good that they literally replay it from a different angle. And again, Shrek's shocked reaction just gets me every time. It's just too good. For the first time, Shrek is enamoured at something who isn't himself, and Fiona explains that she learnt her skills as a necessity for living alone so long. But it turns out that one of the merry men shot an arrow in Shrek's bottom, and Donkey starts going crazy over it, because he thinks that Shrek's going to die. Fiona tells him to go find a flower, but this was actually just a lie to get him to go away. Fiona struggles to convince Shrek to get the arrow out of his butt, and this results in a misunderstanding, foreshadowing by the way, where they end up touching each other up, and Donkey accuses them of getting rid of him on purpose. Shrek gets all defensive when in reality he's falling in love, and while Shrek's distracted, Fiona manages to yank the arrow from his behind. We then get another memeable moment with this sound from Shrek. This shit just cracks me up, man. I don't think that Mike Myers could even replicate that sound again. Cue a montage sequence with My Beloved Monster playing by Eels, and not only does the lyrics and title fit into the themes of Shrek, but the song is just really great. The screechy guitar and off-sounding instruments add to the tone and setting of the scene, and its production honestly reminds me of a Ween song. The montage consists of Shrek and Fiona doing disgusting and downright despicable things for each other, while also neglecting Donkey. It even ends with Shrek shoving Fiona somewhere into the bushes, which only works because of the song and the already established tone of the movie. This scene gets top marks, and it encapsulates the whole vibe and message of the film. It's really good. They almost get to do lock, and it's clear that Shrek and Fiona are sad about this, as they've both grown very fond of each other.
Thinks Lord Farquaad is compensating for something, which I think means he has a really...
Okay movie, enough with the cock jokes, please, this is a kids film. Fiona lies to Donkey and says that he's too ill to go on, and Shrek picks up on this quickly so they can be together for another night. Shrek then cooks them rats for dinner, and Fiona absolutely loves it. probably because she had to resort to rats during her stay in the castle. Or something like that, I don't know. But it shows one of Shrek's passions again, which is cooking. And he genuinely loves the fact that he could share something with someone else, and the fact they actually enjoy something that he made.
Maybe you can come visit me in the swamp sometime.
I'd like that.
He tries to ask Fiona something more, but he's too afraid of his constant rejections in the past, so he folds. The You Belong to Me song by Jason Wade is appropriately playing quietly in the background, which is another nice addition to the background, and honestly I initially thought that this was just a part of the score. Shrek instead asks for Fiona's leftovers, but the touching of the hand almost leads into a kiss, until Donkey has to bloody ruin it again. Donkey mentions how it's sunset and Fiona fully forgets about her secret up until this point, and it's because she's connected with Shrek so well. And conveniently there's a windmill right next to them so she can get into it and hide her curse. Yeah, a bit convenient for sure, but it's not that annoying. It's not too bad. The worst part of this movie is yet to come. Donkey confronts Shrek about his love to Fiona, mentioning pheromones, like he's some wild animal or something. What the hell, Donkey, seriously? Shrek's not Austin Powers, is he? Oh wait, he is. He literally is Austin Powers. I didn't even mean to make that connection. But Shrek dances around it and mentions that he is an ogre, so it wouldn't even work if he did feel that way. Which he does, he loves her. Shrek claims he's going to get more firewood, which is obviously BS, and he just sits down and stares at Duloc until the stars come alive. It's a nice and bittersweet moment for this movie. Later at night though, Donkey gets into the windmill, and Fiona accidentally reveals herself as an ogre.
My God, you ate the princess! Can you hear me?
Donkey!
Listen, keep breathing!
No!
I'll get you out of there!
Fiona explains to Donkey how her curse turns her into an ogre when the sun goes down, with a fairy tale theme in the background. She explains how true love's first kiss will reveal her true form. So in a way, being with Farquaad wouldn't work anyway because he's not her true love. Fiona starts to cry and Donkey drops maybe the funniest line in the whole series.
You're not that ugly. And where you are, I ain't gonna lie, you are ugly.
What possessed bro to say that? What do you mean you're not that ugly? Jesus. I think Donkey's the one with the curse. Donkey rightly mentions that Shrek has a lot in common with her in more ways than one. But Fiona specifically says how he cannot tell Shrek about this, and this results in one of the worst parts of the film. So Shrek returns with a flower to give Fiona to rizz her up, but during Donkey's conversation about Shrek to Fiona, Shrek only hears this.
Princess and ugly don't go together. That's why I can't stay here with Shrek. My only chance to live happily ever after is to marry my true love.
So after hearing this, he gets in a strop, walks over to Duloc at night, and then Farquaad comes in the morning on his request, which saddens Fiona. And then there's a montage of Hallelujah, where both characters are moping and doping and wishing things were different, and both are unaware that they didn't mean the things they did. Yes, it really is that stupid. The misunderstanding / fake out lie reveal moment. Holy shit, this trope has been done to death. And this film partly calls it to be in so many other animated movies. Who wants to see this shit, seriously? It's beyond dumb. Like mind-numbingly dumb. It's just there to waste the audience time, because we know that they get back together. Everyone knows exactly what's going to happen, and it's just such a waste of time in otherwise a really snappy and well-paced movie. It just becomes so boring. The moping and doping happens for 10 bloody minutes at the end of the movie. What the hell, man, Wade's dropped the ball like that movie. There's nothing as bad as this in Monsters Inc, and I don't think it's even close. And I also think that Shrek would have flat out won this comparison if this part was executed differently. But it's not, and that's what keeps it entertaining. Her argument doesn't even make a lick of sense, does it? How is Farquaad going to be your true love when it's clearly Shrek? And you've never met the guy. She's even like to Donkey, oh you can't tell anyone, including Shrek. Like, oh my god, it's so stupid, it's so stupid, it's so stupid. I can't take it, honestly. She even thinks about telling Shrek by using the flower he left on her porch, and brings up the courage to do so. But by the time she's about to tell him the truth, Lord Farquaad is there, and Shrek is pissed off. Jesus man, this is just insanely bad.
Yeah, I know you talked to her last night. You're great pals, aren't you? Now, if you two are such good friends, why don't you fuck off?
And you know what, although I hate this plot point, it does really result in Mike Myers giving his all here. So I really respect that part of it. And remember, Donkey is mad at Shrek, so he builds a wall in the middle of the swamp, as he feels like he deserved half of the reward. Which I get his point, but that's not quite how it works, is it? You didn't have to go with Shrek on the quest, did you? And Donkey is so mad because he thinks that Shrek has been a shit friend this whole time, in which Shrek responds with the fact that Donkey backstabbed him by talking to Fiona in the windmill.
You're so wrapped up in layers, onion boy.
Wrapped up in layers, onion boy. That's probably my favourite Donkey quote. It's so good. But no, Donkey says that Shrek is misunderstood and that Fiona was talking about someone else. This rejuvenates their friendship in quite honestly a heartfelt moment, and they race to Fiona's wedding to try and stop it. Donkey also gets back with Dragon and they use her to get to Duloc at a rapid pace. Meanwhile at the wedding, we see that the guests are told how to react at the wedding again, meaning that Farquaad is just actually a loser tyrant with no friends. They get to Duloc, but Donkey like an idiot tells Shrek that he needs to wait for the right moment to say I object because chicks love that romantic crap. They miss the moment anyway, and Shrek bursts in at the last moment.
It's rude enough being alive when no one wants you.
Bloody hell mate, that's a bit rude. So Shrek inadvertently admits his feelings for Fiona, and Farquaad being Farquaad does this shit.
Now kiss me!
Which is so funny. I swear he is the funniest Shrek villain. At least for my money. But because of Shrek's sincerity, Fiona decides to let the sun go down to show her true form to him. And Shrek is absolutely shocked at this.
Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, I bet it does. And I bet now you wish you didn't mope and dope for so long in this movie. This obviously enrages Farquaad, who plans to kill Shrek and lock Fiona away for life. Jesus Christ man, for a villain who isn't in the film for that long, he sure does have a presence. But thankfully Donkey comes in with Dragon and saves the day. Rest in peace Farquaad, you were a cool villain. Shrek properly confesses his love to Fiona, in which she reciprocates, and their kiss turns Fiona into her true form, an ogre. This really is a beautiful scene with great visuals, and it's accompanied by a magnificent score. I love it, and it does really help show how good of a film this really is with its message, in the way that everyone can be beautiful to someone. It doesn't matter what they look like, or how tall they are for that matter. You really should not judge people by their cover, but also that you have to love yourself first in order to be fulfilled in life, no matter what your background is or what you do. Unless it has evil intentions of course. And it is so satisfying to see Shrek comfortable in his own skin and finally accepted into society after so much hardship. And again, it's great subversion in the fact that Fiona stays conventionally ugly, and she's actually happier because of it. Bravo DreamWorks. Cue I'm a Believer by All Star, and a dance number ending in the form of a wedding, which is a great idea and one of the only times where this dance number ending trope doesn't piss me off. It works because number one, this movie's actually good, and number two, they actually deserve to finally celebrate their love for each other after so long. The cherry on top for the scene is the song. It fits the movie amazingly, and it's a nice full circle moment as the movie ends how it started, in the swamp with the Smash Mouth pop song. The movie ends in the best way possible, with all of the fairy tale creatures free and celebrating, the normal citizens happy and no longer scared of ogres, and great pop culture references. This is undeniably Shrek through and through. And that was Shrek everyone, and as I was stating as the credits rolled past me, I realised that I was in deep trouble, because this movie holds up incredibly well. Despite what some people say online, it's not only a great parody film with fitting references, great pop songs and funny moments, but it also works well as a drama, with interesting conflict, for the most part, a delicate and also impressive score, and a message that resonates with people even today. There's a reason why this movie is such a classic, and it's because it holds up so well and it was the first of its kind. Nobody had seen an animated movie like this, and every other film after this, including some Disney ones, tried and mostly failed in its process. I do think however the message is a little skewed with making fun of Farquaad's height, although he is a rotten person, but I think there's still no excuse. And the Lyra reveal is unbelievably stupid. I hate that. But other than that, it's a blast. So why was I in deep trouble? It's because it makes it so hard for me to decide which is the better movie. Monsters Inc probably looks a bit better overall, although the film does have a lot of dated parts in it I think. And to be fair, Shrek does hold up extremely well in places. And you guys got to remember, this had half the budget of Monsters Inc. This is insane, as the film doesn't look that behind Pixar at the time. I wouldn't even disagree with you if you think Shrek looks better. Either way, both studios managed to do this in 2001, which is impressive. And to be fair, it is important to note that these movies were meant to be seen on 35mm film. And I'm just saying guys, those imperfections wouldn't have been as noticeable if you saw them originally at the cinema. Just saying guys. And while on the whole I definitely prefer Monsters Inc.'s jazzy score, Shrek's Fairy Tale is one of the best themes I've ever heard, and its pop soundtrack elevates it to a fair even playing field I think. It was so clever to include these instead of Disney films, and they actually fit well in the film. It's clear they weren't some stupid afterthoughts. The characters, man, where do I begin? I love Shrek and Donkey as much as I love the dynamic between Sully and Boo, but I guess the cherry on top is that Fiona is amazing too. But to be fair, I think I prefer Waternoose to Farquaad, for being such an interesting corrupt CEO. You see why it's so hard to rank these films. For every strength one movie has, there's always a counterpoint from the other movie, and the messaging and themes of the movie are just so well done. In Shrek it's more in your face for sure, but I think that people undermine the more subtle moments in Monsters Inc. And to be fair, I would easily give the pacing to Shrek on this one. However, the pacing in Shrek becomes absolutely awful during the third act of this movie. And to be fair to Monsters Inc, the pacing is always pretty good. It's just not as tight in places, I think. So, this begs the question of what movie actually deserved to win the Oscars. After reviewing both movies, I can see why they went with Shrek. It's a good underdog story for DreamWorks, and the film was also so unbelievably revolutionary for the time. And it is the funnier movie overall, no doubt about that. But Monsters Inc works extremely well in many other ways. It's just an extremely well done children's film about corruption in the workplace and doing the right thing. I think it's the case that you've got one really solid film that is arguably the best, versus a movie that changed the entire industry. Now, I'm not saying that that makes either film better, but Shrek definitely wins on the influence part. This makes it really hard for me. I have a special connection to both of these movies, as I used to watch them on repeat as a child. I know them inside out, and that's not a reference to the Pixar film. For the record though, I've always loved both, but as a kid if you asked me this, I think I would have went with Monsters Inc. However, I think it makes it much harder now. In my heart of hearts, these films are almost equal in quality for different ways, so it may end up disappointing you guys, but I think I might have to give it a tie. They genuinely are both just really great animated films. I know you guys may think this is a cop-out, but it is just that hard, and if I make another one of these, hopefully we won't get to the same conclusion. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It's easily one of the most ambitious videos I've ever made. I've really missed you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the different style of review, because this took so much time and effort to make. My voice is literally dead, I've been speaking for like 5 hours. Now I want to hear from you guys. What movies do you want me to compare next? It could be another 2 Oscar films, or they don't have to be. Hey, I'm easy like that. Anyway, love to you all, and thank you so much for watching.
Hi guys, First Girls Chunk here. First of all, if I look like a bloody mess, I've been ill for like 2 months straight on and off. And this one has really hit me. I don't know if it's COVID or anything. It's got to be something like that. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the fans who have stayed with me. I know I haven't uploaded in almost a year, or pretty much a year at this point. And I am aware that, you know, I could have made videos throughout the year, but I think it's been quite an eventful year for me, to say the least. A lot of things have happened. Moving house, finishing uni, you know, doing assignments, etc, etc. So yeah, I think it was good that I took a break. I started making that video, this Shrek vs Monsters Inc, maybe in about April, May time. That's when I started. And I sort of put it on the back burner for a long time. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to make videos more often, or if you guys prefer this longer style of video, we can sort something out and I will lock in more 100% if this video gets a positive reaction. I'm sort of hoping on the copyright gods to sort of release the claim and release the video and stuff like that, because I know that is going to be an issue. But yeah, I just want to say to the fans that have stuck with me for almost a year, you know, commenting, oh, where have you been? I really love your content. I miss you. That means the world to me, genuinely. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for the continued support. And yeah, I'm not really sure where to go next with the series. Maybe I'll do, as I sort of said in my outro, maybe I'll do more of the Oscar nominated films, or maybe I do ones which you know, make thematic sense. Like I was thinking maybe do something like Shark Tale versus Finding Nemo. That was sort of the idea I'm having in my head, because I feel like that is like a great comparison on how one studio gets it really right and one completely misses the mark, and I feel like that could be a good extension from the Shrek video, if that makes sense. But yeah, no, other than that, I hope you guys have had a good 2025. I hope 2026 is treating you well. And yeah, you will get more uploads from me soon in some form, and I just hope that this video can actually get released and the copyright laws. If you're seeing this, then in some way this video is out there. It may not be monetized, but it's out there. But yeah, I'm very tired, so I think that's going to be it from me. Thank you for watching the whole video, or at least skipping to the end, and yeah, I'll see you guys soon.
It's junk, first class junk.